So, as I really felt like I was probably never going to get to leave Metro, due to not only the staff and power there, but I also had a social worker who made it very difficult for me. Now, up until this point, I was told a lot of negative things. I was told I wasn't going to be anything. I was told I had the three strike rule against me because, I grew up in a poverty ridden, violent area, um, being abused, and also being black. And I was always one of those people that was like, all right, bet, I'll take on that. And we're going to find out if I get to make it out or not. And so I really did. I really took on the challenge every time. Even to this day, for the most part, I do. I take on the challenge and I just go, okay, y'all think I can't do it. And so, finally, I got a group home that was willing to take me out in Long Beach. And it no longer stands under the same name. But it was a good experience for me. Good, bad, and ugly. God's plan is God's plan, in my opinion, and nothing's going to change God's plan. Um, and so I legitimately, um, I did some artwork while I was at Metro. Literally, like one of the last days I was there, I was able to publish into a calendar, 1999, with a few of my best friends, and I got to spend some time with some of my best friends who I'm still friends with to this day, um, because of nights like that one, where you felt like you were worth something and it wasn't just all smoke and mirrors and aging out the system. None of that mattered that night, and I'm gonna leave out the details of some of the other things, but it was a great night, and I got to experience stuff and sign autographs and uh, feel like I was important. And so I went to Harborview. This is We're talking about August '99. I started in Harborview, and again, like every other placement, I legitimately was able to um, go there, get on the highest levels. I got along with most kids, but you always had the people who wanted to be the bully or the biggest, kid on the block, or you know, um, and try to get up in your face and all that stuff, right? And at this point, I was kind of turning over a new leaf. I was trying not to fight nobody. I was like legitimately tired of the system, and I was just done, you know. And so I went there and bottled up emotions and just kind of just pushed through a lot of stuff, and got on these high levels. Was still on multiple medications for God knows why, and and my social worker still was making it difficult on me, still saying, hey, you're not going to be anything, you're not going anywhere, basically. When you could kind of read between the lines. And so I was like, okay, all right. But I maintained, and yes, did I get angry? Did I want to lash out? Absolutely. But it was after my therapist, unfortunately, kind of sided with my social worker because I refused to speak to her, that I was not, I kind of knew, it kind of sank, and it sank in for me that I was not leaving anytime soon. And so after getting to the highest levels and earning the honors and doing all the stuff and being great with most staff, and in fact, pretty much all staff there, and it really made it really hard for me to want to continue to do good, with my social worker telling me that I wasn't going anywhere, and my therapist completely blowing off my good behavior because I won't, do therapy. And so, I tried to find ways around it by sitting in my therapist's office for an hour and not speaking, which didn't work. But eventually what happened was the therapist left, and the therapist that subsequently followed suit and came in to take over had the same name. They were both named Kim. And Kim, the second one, she really thoroughly looked at my paperwork, and she looked at my history, and she asked me questions, and we had a conversation. Because the one thing above all else, therapists or not, I read body language. I read people. I'm very good at reading people. Even today, probably more so. But it was something different in her body language that made me want to actually talk to her. And so she saw the running away after the first Kim and my social worker kind of got on the same page and didn't want me to go anywhere. And so that's when I started acting up. I was like, okay, so if both y'all are going to keep me here, what's keeping me being good? Why am I still on the honor system? Why am I still honoring your rules when you're not keeping up your own system? And so what I ended up doing was I did some dumb things, ran away multiple times, started getting into more fights and arguments with people. I was able to discipline myself away from girls at the time, even though there were girls that I liked there. I just kind of just said, forget it. And threw my hands up, honestly. That's what happened. And I think one of the things that kind of changed me was one night when I did run away. I'm going to not give the details of it, but I am going to say that at 12 years old, I had already had previous experience with seeing pornography and things like that. But at 12 years old, I lost my virginity to a woman who was at least in her mid to late 20s, probably early 30s. And it changed me. And that one was a pill to swallow. But I didn't run away after that night. And so, some months passed. The second Kim took over my case, and she was like, okay, I see you did all this running away. I see the behaviors now. But previous to this, you were a good kid. You didn't have these behaviors. You stayed on the highest levels. What happened? And I explained to her, I said, they said I couldn't go nowhere because I refused therapy, even though I was managing just fine, and my social worker was saying also I couldn't go nowhere, and the therapist before you said I couldn't go anywhere. And so she was like, well, we're going to rectify that situation. She said, I visibly see that you've been doing your best. And she was like, so when do you want to leave? And I said, give me 30 days. Because by that time I had did so much damage to myself that I knew it was going to take a little time to undo. I had people I had to apologize to, and some of my closest friends I did not want to leave just yet, and even had me a girlfriend, but what we consider a girlfriend once you get into your like actual teenage years and your adult years are different than something at 12. But because I still had a shred of innocence, it wasn't all stripped from that incident. And so I graduated, and then once I graduated, my social worker was livid. She called my house where I was living with my aunt and uncle at the time. And they were like, hey, your social worker wants to talk to you. And I was like, okay, bet. Right. And my social worker was like, why are you at home? Why are you not at this group home? Mind you, my therapist told me she was going to deal with the social worker. Don't even worry about it. And so I was like, they graduated me. I didn't need to be there. Why would they keep somebody there who's doing their very best and operating in good faith and having good behavior? And she was like, you're going to be going back. You're going to be going back. And I was like, oh, okay. And so she was like, I'm going to call them and I'm going to get everything right. And you're going to be going back to that bed. And I was like, okay. And so she calls back a couple of days later. She goes, I don't know what you did to get out of there, but you're going to be going back into the system somewhere. You're going back to a facility. You're not staying there at your aunt and uncle's house. You're not staying there. And I was like, they told you I did not need to be there. So why are you over here trying to override something that's actually, best for me, which is what this is supposed to be about? And so, once she did that, I was like, okay, it is what it is, man. And so what she ended up doing was she ended up telling me, she was like, okay, I can't get you into anywhere. So guess what you're going to do? You're going to spend your first year or your high school years in a behavioral school, a behavioral high school. And so I was like, all right, at least I don't have to go to Berendo Middle School. Nothing wrong with Berendo. Sorry, y'all. But I didn't want to wear uniforms. So, they had little navy blue pants with the white shirt you had to wear every day. And I was like, I was not about that life. So I was like, all right, bet. But, I'll pause right here and we'll share again next week.